call to order this meeting of the Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners. I would note that all commissioners are present except for Commissioner Johnson, who is excused. I would note that we had a hearing prior to this meeting, and we did meet in executive session to discuss matters permitted under law, including legal, personnel, and real estate. We will have a Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Fleming, followed by a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, and welcome everybody. We will go immediately into a budget hearing on the 2015 budget. Mr. Myers, do we have to follow any protocol on this?
You should ask for public input. The ordinance and budget as authorized by the Board of Commissioners has been advertised and posted for the required amount of days. There's been no input in regards to letters received or phone calls I received. Several comments that said, thank you for holding line on taxes and such as that and holding line on spending. Other than that, the budget is intact as it was approved for advertisement at the November 12th meeting. And it's it's exactly the same numbers as the board received 6 weeks ago with no changes. So it's public input, and then the board may act as it desires.
Okay. Is there any public comment on the budget? As Mr. Myers said, it was we did move to advertise it at our last meeting in November. It's been on public display for the last 30 days.
And on the website.
And on the website. Not seeing a lot of jumpers up. Okay. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt Ordinance 1514, which is the 2016 budget and tax ordinance fixing revenues, expenditures, and the tax rates for the year 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The hearing is hereby over. Moving on to the rest of the agenda, we have a public presentation before we get to petitions from citizens, and it is on the Paxton Creek TMDL strategy. And I understand that Ms. Latavic of HRG is here to present on that, and then we will entertain public comment on the TMLD study.
Good evening. I'm Erin Latavic from HRG. I'm here with Matt Bonanno. We're both from the Civil Service Group. We are here to talk about the Paxton Creek TMDL strategy, which was something that you discussed briefly at your last meeting when you approved an intermunicipal agreement to partner with Lower Paxton Township and Capital Region Water. So we're here to present some of the findings of that strategy, which is currently undergoing public comment. And copies of our presentation are available at the sign-in sheet. There are also public comment forms that can be filled out because we are here to gather public information, but it's best for us to address those comments through written communication so we can be sure we address everything adequately. Matt, you want to start?
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Board, for having us tonight. This is the third public hearing for this project. We had two in November, one with Capital Region Water and one with Lower Paxton Township, so this is the final public hearing. The Paxton Creek TMDL strategy is something that's required by DEP and is really a subset of your MS4 permit. And we've been teaching about MS4 for a number of years now. This is the kind of the next step in the evolution of your MS4 when you have an impaired stream like Paxton Creek in our township. Just wanted to thank Dave Stewart from Capital Region Water, George Wolf, and Manager Myers. Very, very progressive approach here as we're looking at the watershed as a whole and not just the piece within Susquehanna Township. That forethought and progressive approach, I think, is going to give all three jurisdictions a much better product. You're going to see better water quality, And I think you're going to be able to do that at a much cheaper price and save money for your residents. So with the three jurisdictions coming together, what we're trying to do is determine this long-term partnership between the three entities. We're going to look to integrate solutions to this problem. And through this collaboration, we're going to seek outside financial support. So what that means is hopefully look for grants and loans to help pay for some of this. And typically when you apply for a grant and you do have three jurisdictions coming together and applying for that, you have a better shot at obtaining some funding. So I'm also here as a vice president of the Paxton Creek Watershed Association. So we are kind of willing to help out with the public education and information that's required both of the MS4 and as part of this TMDL project. So just a couple quick facts about the watershed. It drains over 27 square miles. 98% of that is within the city of Harrisburg, Susquehanna Township, and Lower Paxton Township. So it's nice that the three entities that came together really control, again, 98% of the watershed. There's 50 total miles of stream in the watershed, and DEP considers 20 of those to be impaired. That means there's something wrong with it. And what's wrong with Paxton Creek is there's too much sediment that's coming down into the stream and being conveyed to the Susquehanna River. 85% of that sediment is originating from inside the stream, so on the stream banks. So what you're not seeing is a lot of water or a lot of sediment coming off construction sites anymore. It's really when you have a storm event, that water hits the pavement real quick, rushes through the inlets and hits the stream. The velocity and the amount of water that's hitting the stream is eroding the banks. So that's the major problem we're trying to solve. So back in 2008, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, defined the total maximum daily load, and that's the TMDL. And essentially what that is a pollution diet. So if you think about the amount of sediment that's in the stream right now, we need to take that down by 35%. That's our target goal. So that was the sediment portion. Also back in 2008, there was a phosphorus TMDL that came out, and there was a lot of news about that. EPA has since removed that, so we don't need to worry about the phosphorus at this time. We're simply worried about sediment. There's also other entities that are in the watershed. So there's a little bit of Middle Paxton, a little bit of Pembroke, and Susquehanna Township. There's also things like DEP, PennDOT, the community college, major entities that contribute and discharge their stormwater into the creek. So part of our strategy is to be reaching out to those other entities and seeing how they can help solve the solution, so it's not just Susquehanna Township. So why are we here today? We're responding to the TMDL. So DEP is making us do a two-phase approach. The first is called a TMDL strategy, and that's what this booklet is. It's on the CRW website, and there's a link to this on your township's website. This is due December 31st. So a very aggressive schedule that we met to meet that deadline. The public comment period closes here December 14th, which is Monday. After that is submitted, the next phase is going to be a implementation phase that's due September of 2017. So what that's really going to do is we're going to tell you through this how we're going to do it, and then that next phase is really get down to the nitty-gritty details of where we're going to put these projects. We went to DEP, and Manager Myers was there too, and we asked them if we could do this watershed approach, and they really loved the idea, and they basically blessed the three entities going together and submitting this documentation for all, one plan for all three. We had to do some modeling on the watershed, and what we did, it's a map shed model, and Alex Greenlee's here from our office, and he did a lot of the number crunching. Basically, we matched that TMDL model that EPA did in 2008 based on the data that was there at that time, and then we updated it for all the projects that have been done in the watershed since then. So we wanted to give you credit for what you've done so far. We were able to reduce that by 60 tons per year for what's required. We have left, to give you an order of magnitude, is about 900 tons per year of sediment that we still need to reduce to meet that 35% reduction. So how are we going to do that? For CRW, who is handling the city of Harrisburg, they're going to look at their combined overflows. Our strategy here contains 11 miles of stream bank stabilization. So areas where we see erosion coming down, we're going to plan to come in and do plantings or riprap to stabilize that bank. 9 miles of riparian buffers, which are vegetation and trees right up to the stream banks. When you plant those trees, those roots typically take and hold the stream bank to prevent further erosion. Looking at about 10% of the watershed to be treated by a land-based BMP. What that means is if you have a detention basin, we might come in and retrofit that to make it hold some water back, to improve the water quality, to reduce the sediment. We're looking to preserve existing riparian areas. So when you do have the stream surrounded on both sides by forest, we want to make sure that gets maintained. And through development, that forest doesn't get ripped down, because there's actually a lot of stream miles within Paxton Creek watershed that look very, very good. Better than what you would think from reading the TMDL report of 2008. So when we were out there, we were pretty happy with what we saw. We're going to do continued enforcement when there is development. There's new regulations. There's strict stormwater management regulations and erosion and sedimentation control. We've been implementing those. The Conservation District has been implementing those. I think what you're seeing is that the stream is almost healing itself to some point, where the developers are doing a great job at making sure that when they do develop a land, it's done properly, and that runoff is not coming off their site, but it's being contained on the site through best management practices. And finally, we're going to make sure that we maintain our stormwater control. So when we do have a rain garden or a detention basin that's built, we need to come back and make sure it's maintained so it works properly in perpetuity. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Aaron.
Another exercise that we underwent was a stream assessment. We literally did a stream walk for 8 of the 50 miles of stream miles within the watershed. It was broken up into 18 segments, and of those 18 segments, 8 of them reached optimal scores, meaning that the stream looked healthy, looked clean. 11 of the 18 were marginal or poor. They exhibited erosion, they exhibited sedimentation, which you would expect because of the TMDL in place. We recognize that those were areas to focus on regarding projects. Again, the symptoms of this impairment are things like eroded banks, discharges directly to the stream that cause erosion, high velocities, little armament. But mature forest buffers and even grass buffers can really help the situation. And our stream walks did identify areas where those things were in place and were performing well. We've identified 18 potential early action projects, and they're detailed in a strategy sort of way in the report. They're not detailed regarding construction plans and hard costs. This is an area in which we know we need to focus, and we need to study a little bit more to identify what those solutions are. 3 projects were recommended for implementation, and some of the early action projects will be combined with respect to the Capital Region water infrastructure improvements that they're already making regarding their regulatory compliance issues. There are also a handful of projects within Susquehanna that are early action projects that you might be familiar with. One is the Fox Run Stream Restoration Project that's currently in construction, correct? Another is the Logan Farm Detention Basin retrofit. I understand this is a detention basin that has been a target of ours internally as far as a detention basin that you could do a little bit extra to get some extra water quality benefit, but hasn't been feasible. But CRW did apply for a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant in partnership with the township to see if there's some work there that could be done. The types of stream stabilization options that we'll be looking at when we go through the implementation phase of this will include bioengineered bank stabilization, floodplain connection. So when you have a channel that's constrained, it's pulling back those stream banks again to connect the floodplain to the channel. Outlet protection to reduce velocities and erosion, naturalizing those drainage channels, and even doing some grade control. So you're going to see more rock, yes, but you're also going to see more vegetation, more trees, more shrubs, mattings, some of those softer engineering techniques that you won't even realize are there once they're fully mature. The next steps of the plan will basically include fully vetting these isolated areas that we found that do need to be addressed. We're going to need to develop a more detailed hydraulic model in partnership with another consultant that we're working with. We're discussing the concept of a sediment transport model, partially to ensure that what we're treating is really the amount that we need to treat. Again, to hopefully save you some money on the long term. Next step will then be to prepare and prioritize design concepts, including stream-based, land-based, like detention basin retrofits, and then implement those requirements, looking at collaborative approaches, some cost sharing, partnerships with the Watershed Association that you have here, which frankly is a great asset to you for implementation for this plan. And as Matt mentioned, the next step of the plan is due in September 2017. So we're going to have some work to do in the next year and a half. Again, we're here to gather feedback. Again, written is preferred because we want to be sure to capture all the comments as best we can. The comment period does close of business on Monday. Again, the strategy is available here in paper copy. It's on Capital Region Water's website, and I know there's a reference to that website on your website. And again, there's a comment form at the sign-in sheet. So next steps are more studies, unfortunately, but hopefully some projects that really speak to the public about the importance of water quality. For your future considerations, this will be a budget issue for you, especially if grant funding isn't as easily accessible as we're hoping. Long-term support of the plan, if there are volunteer plantings, participating in those would really go a long way. And then again, water quality awareness. I know you get your MS4 presentation every year about how important water quality is, but there's more that we can do. And unfortunately, you have this regulatory reason to do even more than some of your neighbors. So we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, am I understanding correctly that the main problem is erosion and caused by runoff?
Right.
So are any of the projects involving reducing impervious surface in the township?
No, they're not yet. That's a good question.
Because I have some ideas about that.
Yeah.
And I
For
won't get
instance-
into that now, but I know some areas that are paved that don't necessarily need to be paved.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even regarding the public hearing you just had in a parking lot that is just may be characterized as being too big.
Characterized.
There
Sorry.
are some shopping centers I can think of where I live that are too big, and there's no question that that
Absolutely.
amount of pavement just isn't
Absolutely.
necessary. So it's a
The,
great idea.
I mean, for instance, I've read about when you have, one of the things that they're doing now is when you have a street that's excessively wide, it's in a residential area. So when they're doing the repaving, in the center, they'll put like a strip of grass, an island with grass and trees. So you're less pavement,
Yeah.
less money to pave it every time it needs to be repaved and less runoff. I'm familiar with some roads that may qualify for that. There's other areas, again, but give me your contact information. I can shoot you an email, and maybe some of them are viable.
The reason that wasn't looked at in the current strategy is because in that model that we talked about, we were trying to use best management practices that give you the most bang for your buck.
Sure.
So those are great ideas, and hopefully we can implement them on smaller site-specific scales.
Right.
But to do that on a watershed-wide approach, that would take so much pavement out that's really, it's not feasible to do it.
Right.
So we
I
wanted to
understand.
come with an approach to DEP that they would buy into. But absolutely, site-specific, that's a fantastic recommendation.
The other tricky thing about this planning is that he mentioned the map shed model that we used for the loadings. There are BMPs that you can plan for that you get so-called credit for, and more progressive approaches like the one you're describing aren't easy to model. That's really the problem. It's difficult for us to prove to DEP that we're doing enough. But as these plans, which I understand there are not too terribly many that have been approved statewide and implemented statewide, we intend to partner with DEP to make sure that we're doing things the right way and we're getting the credit that we deserve.
The other question I had was about phosphorus. I know you said you don't need to worry about that right now, but is that something that could be helped by less use of fertilizers on lawns?
Yes,
That-
and when I say we shouldn't worry about it, we don't have to worry about it as far as a TMDL.
I got that.
It's
but-
still a pollutant that we do want to address, and luckily with a lot of the best management practices for erosion sedimentation control that we would put in, it will help with that phosphorus. We just don't have to do a numerical analysis and submit that information to DEP.
Right. I'm just thinking that perhaps that's information we can put out to our residents in the newsletter or something about alternative methods of fertilizing and whatnot, just to help with that.
And that ties directly into your MS4 program.
Right. Thank you.
Quick question, just this may even be information that's available on the websites to which you referred. I'm sure it is. But since we have you in front of the cameras, maybe I'll ask you here is for individuals, private landowners who might live along the Paxton Creek, what are some tips or things that they can do to help with this problem?
I would say that the biggest thing is if you have a backyard, don't mow your grass up to the edge of the stream. That's the number one thing you can do, because those are the people that are calling the township and typically saying, I'm losing my backyard. My backyard is falling into the creek. Well, the reason that is because they took out all the mature trees, all the shrubs, everything that's actually holding the stream back in place. Yeah, it's great to have a backyard, and it's great to have that view of the stream, but that's the number one thing. The other thing is, don't blow leaves and don't put your grass clippings into the stream. That degrades water quality. Those are my probably two biggest tips.
That's good.
Yes, generally speaking, what can homeowners do who may not be next to a stream or a creek, but they do have runoff from their properties, and there are 25,000 residents in Susquehanna Township? How can they reduce the flow from their driveways or their backyards, so to speak? Rain barrels come to mind, but that seems a minor approach.
Well, rain barrels are a good approach. The concept there is you're disconnecting the impervious surface. So if you think about rain hitting your rooftop, coming down your roof drain, going onto your driveway, coming out to the curb, going into the next inlet, running down a pipe, and then right into the stream. So think of that path. When does that water ever get a chance to percolate into the ground and slow down? It doesn't. So a simple thing as taking your rooftop downspout and turning that and making it into flowing over your grass or any vegetative, that would help tremendously. And if we could do that watershed wide, those small type of BMPs would actually really help out.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do. I wanted to hit on something you mentioned, Aaron, at the end there. You said many of these plans haven't been, approved statewide. Do we have a model? I'm really, I understand what the goal is. I understand the aim. I'm very incredulous as to whether or not we can actually do this. I'll be quite honest. It just seems like a heavy lift. And I know the next step is September 2017, but what's our total timeline of when we have to have that 35% reduction?
DEP has not been clear about that. We have a client in Chester County that is in a similar situation like yourselves, having to go through this process because of their MS4 permit. And we've met with 2 different regional offices now on these issues, and they are just interested in seeing that municipalities are doing something. So we keep talking about permit cycles in terms of a 5-year period. We intend to propose, with respect to the design details, a schedule like 4 permit cycles, like 20 years,
Right.
in hopes that, frankly, the technology can catch up. Because as it currently stands, we have a model that demonstrates how much it takes to get it done, but to your point, we don't entirely know if it's feasible regarding private property impacts as well.
And as you said, this is going to be this will impact our budget. Absolutely. I made the comment with this intermunicipal agreement. Susquehanna Township is bearing the lion's share of those costs. So I have concerns going forward in terms of whether or not it can be done. And the last thing, is there a model, a watershed that has been dramatically improved either in Pennsylvania or elsewhere that you can point to and say, hey, this is possible? It happened in Maryland, or it happened in Colorado.
There's a watershed in Lancaster County I'm thinking of that was really impacted by agricultural runoff.
Conestoga?
Yeah.
Okay.
And legacy sediments. And there were some very expensive projects that were done down there, but they really reaped the benefits of it. It wasn't an entirely urbanized watershed like yourselves.
Right,
So
right.
We know that there are things that are possible, but on the global scale, I think each watershed has its own challenges. And for that reason, will have its own successes.
And then just one final thing. Can we do this? Can we do what we need to do? And water is going to go where it's going to go. I mean, can we do this and not negatively impact businesses, residences with additional flooding and things of that nature? Are there ways to do that?
Sure. Certainly the goal always is, for instance, when we're looking at a capital improvement project, some sort of stormwater project, if there's the opportunity to add water quality to it, we do. But the primary goals of those projects typically are aging infrastructure or flooding related. We're just going to have to look at it on a case by case.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and you mentioned that Monday is the cutoff for submission of comments. Okay.
Right.
Now, what if you get comments after that? I mean, this is going to show up on TV probably after that comment period is closed. Is there any recourse for anybody that might want to comment?
Yeah, I would. They can submit the comments. Most likely, they will not be addressed before the draft goes in again December 31st. That is our drop dead deadline with DEP.
Okay.
We've asked for an extension, have been denied that, so we have to submit.
Okay.
We could still take those comments under advisement, though, during the designs.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great job.
Moving into public comment period. Anybody wish to speak on this subject? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody?
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioner Lynch and commissioners and staff. My name is Gary Lanker. I'm a resident of Susquehanna Township. But in addition to that, I am here this evening representing the Home Builders Association of Metropolitan Harrisburg, which I am president of, and is an organization that has worked closely with this township and others throughout the region for a number of years. We do have comments on this Paxton Creek TMDL strategy. And may I say, before I get into that, I do have with me this evening Mike Hess, who is one of our members, an engineer with Dewberry, and Dave Shepard, who is our executive director of the HBA. Our comments are in writing, but I wanted to just take a moment for the benefit of some of the newer commissioners and to refresh the memory of some of the commissioners that have been here for a number of years to talk about where we have been with this Paxton Creek TMDL and how we have worked together. Way back in 1996, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection listed the Paxton Creek as nutrient impaired. And nothing was done for a number of years until 2008. And at that time, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency promulgated a TMDL due to the 1996 DEP listing of the Paxton Creek being nutrient impaired. that would have basically shut down most of the building, not only in this township, but in Lower Paxton Township, a major part of Susquehanna Township, and a major part of the city of Harrisburg. In the fall of 2008, Lower Paxton Township and our association jointly filed an appeal on the Paxton Creek TMDL. In the fall of 2009, our stakeholders group, which Susquehanna Township was one of, including the city of Harrisburg and Lower Paxton Township, requested a peer review and then petitioned DEP to reconsider the nutrient impairment listing for the Paxton Creek. In the spring and fall of 2010, EPA's Science Advisory Board, or SAB, and DEP report that the Paxton Creek is not impaired for nutrients, as I think was mentioned by the consultants tonight. In the spring of 2011, EPA rejects DEP's recommendations, and in May of 2011, our stakeholders group, with the support of U.S. Senator Casey's office, asked the EPA for the data requirements to show that the Paxton Creek is not impaired. The stakeholders engaged the services of attorney John Hall and Associates out of Washington, D.C., to challenge the EPA's assertions. Let me note that the EPA continued on its course of declaring the Paxton Creek nutrient impaired, even though the DEP declared that it wasn't nutrient impaired, and EPA's own Science Advisory Board had challenged the agency's methodology in determining the nutrient TMDL. Senator Toomey joined Senator Casey in intervening with the EPA, criticizing them for overstepping their bounds and putting policy objectives ahead of scientific evidence. The outcome was that EPA determined that the TMDL was not appropriate for nitrogen and phosphates. All of the stakeholders contributed to the funding of this process, including Lower Paxton, Susquehanna Township, the respective wastewater authorities, the National Association of Home Builders, the Pennsylvania Home Builders Association, and our Home Builders Association of Metropolitan Harrisburg. Over $100,000 was spent in that effort. This is an outstanding example of a public-private partnership to bring about good public policy in the regulatory realm. The private sector, more specifically the Home Builders Federation, recognizes that these regulations not only impact the housing industry, but the municipalities and their taxpayers. Our efforts help make housing more affordable while maintaining the health and safety of those purchasing new homes, as well as your existing residents of your community. With the report before you that outlines the TMDL strategy, we want to once again work with our municipal partners to develop a reasonable response to make the Paxton Creek a healthy waterway and allow for continued appropriate uses of the surrounding lands. We actually have about 5 concerns, and I'm going to ask Mike to step up and just share those with you.
Thank you.
As Gary mentioned, we are going to be one of the agencies that submits public comment. These comments should go out tomorrow to all the affected parties. So you'll have them in writing, but just wanted to step through them briefly here this evening in case there are any questions. We can talk some more about them. The first comment that we have, and this is probably our biggest one, is that there's a discrepancy in the report between the role that development plays in the cause of the problem and the role that development is forecasted to play in the solution. About 86% of the sediment in Paxton Creek comes from stream bank erosion, which I think is something that Matt and Aaron alluded to. So that leaves about 14% for all other sources, development being one of them. All of these other sources contribute about 14% of that sediment. However, development's expected to play about 30% of the role in cleaning it up. We just feel that it would be more cost-effective to target those solutions to the problems commensurate with the degree to which they cause the problem. Our second comment is that development can really play a role in improving the condition of Paxton Creek and not be detrimental to it. New stormwater regulations since the early 2000s have required that we control not only the stormwater rate leaving our site, but also the volume, and both of those have to be reduced by virtue of any kind of new development. And it actually is reduced to a considerable degree because we have some pre-development assumptions built in. So as a project is developed, after it's done, there will be less runoff leaving the site, less runoff hitting Paxton Creek, less velocity in those flows that can erode the stream banks in Paxton Creek. So we really want to assert that by virtue of completing these developments, it's going to be an improvement and not a detriment. In addition, when developments come through, it adds to the tax base for municipalities. There's more opportunity there to pursue these kind of stream bank projects that would really directly target the problem. Other than that, we wanted to comment on the 3 strategies that the report outlines, and it sounds like the one that's that the consultants are trending towards is the one that we would advocate for. The strategy, there are 3 strategies outlined. The first is to maximize stream stabilization. The second is to maximize runoff reduction. And then the third is a combination of the 2. We're in favor of the stream bank stabilization method, again, because it directly targets that 86% of the sediment that comes from stream bank erosion. And we just feel that it would be very difficult, especially in an urbanized watershed like Paxton Creeks, to implement these BMPs in areas that are already built. A lot of concerns with property acquisition, right-of-ways, maintenance responsibilities, and so forth. In fact, even the strategy that maximizes the use of BMPs to reduce runoff still has to employ a certain amount of stream bank stabilization in order to achieve the intended goal. We can't get all the way there with just the BMPs. Other than that, we just have a couple of minor technical comments. The report uses the 2000 census as the baseline for the urbanized areas. We'd recommend the 2010 census, especially in Lower Paxton Township, the northern part of the township. There's a larger urbanized area there than there was in 2000. And wanted to note that we concur with the selection of the priority corrective actions. I think the 18 items that Aaron mentioned generally focus on stream bank stabilization, correction of some eroding sanitary sewer pipes, some undermining issues, and those sorts of things. We're generally on board with all of those recommendations and think that they're right on target. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this topic before we move on? Any members of the public wish to address anything otherwise?
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you all. Approval of minutes from our November 12th, 2015 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports of committees. Buildings and Grounds, Commissioner Pine.
Yes, Mr. President, some good news from our solicitor tonight. The fact that settlement has been scheduled for December 28th with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission for the purchase of land adjacent to our highway maintenance garage. I have to salute you and Manager Myers and Solicitor Foreman and others who've worked on this project for years. To
Commissioner Schubert.
Commissioner Schubert, thank you.
He paid for lunch.
And trying to bring this all to a close after years, I think, of work. That this gives us the option for our garage and other use of that land adjacent to the area, some of which we already use and rent, but now we're able to have it as our own and to build on it if necessary. So just some good news to report, and we'll follow up as it happens to confirm that it happens.
Great. Thank you. Budget and Finance, Commissioner Sanderson.
Well, the good news is we adopted the budget for next year. The better news is it starts again.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. No other report, Mr. Myers? Any other
Sir,
thought?
thank you.
I would like to say at this time, I've worked with Mr. Myers now for a number of years on the Budget and Finance Committee in various capacities. And every year I learn something, and I don't think I'm ever going to learn as much as Mr. Myers has forgotten, considering that this is his final year preparing our budget. So I want to say thank you, and I think it should be recognized in the minutes that every single one of the budgets that Mr. Myers has been responsible for preparing has survived an audit. There have never been any findings in any of the audits in Susquehanna Township. And that's because of Mr. Myers' direction and leadership.
Don't jinx me.
I don't know. Next audit is Mr. Kratzer's. Sorry.
It'll be better, I can guarantee.
So I think it's important to recognize that.
Thank you, sir.
A few years ago, Mr. Myers was recognized as the government official, finance official of the year by the Central Pennsylvania Business Journal. It was well deserved.
And I think it's important to recognize that we're losing an extraordinarily experienced and capable manager, and I look forward to working with our new manager coming January. So when we start all over again, it's everything old shall be new. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Highways, Commissioner Napper.
Yes, Mr. President. The Highway Department report for the month of November. The Highway Department installed new signs and repaired damaged signs throughout the township. Maintenance was performed on all township trucks and equipment, including installing salt spreaders for emergency winter weather, which brings me to the leaf collection, Mr. President. Leaf Management Area 1, which is in the uptown area of the township, was completed November 20th, and Area 2 was completed November 27th. For more information and collection information, see the township website. And on a note of appreciation, Mr. Dean Dietrich is retiring after 35 years of service in the Highway Department, and I'd like to personally thank you for your dedication and service to the township, sir. Manager Myers?
I would note you're getting
Nobody
out
did
of,
it better, Dean. Nobody did it better.
you're getting out of town before the snow flies, I understand.
There you go.
Good retirement planning. Thank you, Dean.
Yes, sir.
Is that it, Mr. Napper?
That's it. That was the end of my report.
All right.
Mr. President, I have a question regarding the leaf pickup. A resident had emailed Manager Myers today. He had copied me on the email, and apparently they were contacting you about the large piles of leaves that are still in the first ward. And you had mentioned that the Highway Department will be coming to pick those up?
Right, we're going to, Mr. Christopher is back there, and I talked to Mr. Christopher about that. We'll be making one more sweep uptown because, as we know, uptown, it's so many old trees and a lot of leaves, but we'll make one more sweep through the township
Okay.
over the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Health and Sanitation, Commissioner Johnson is not here. Do you have anything, Commissioner Rubarczyk?
Yes, I do. Next week, Penn Waste will begin delivering the new 65-gallon recycling bins to residents. If you would like to continue using your current recycling bin, that's fine as well. Just contact Penn Waste and let them know that you would like them to pick up the new bin. You don't want to use it. And also, if you have any other old recycling bins that you do not want to hold on to, you can contact Penn Waste and they will pick those up as well. As a reminder, there will be no yard waste collection in the month of December. Yard waste collection will resume in January on the 9th and the 16th. Residents may also put out their Christmas trees for pickup during that time. And I have one other item regarding organic endeavors. A resident contacted me, actually several have, but one on a couple occasions, and I know he's reached out to Manager Myers and Commissioner Johnson. I'm sorry, Health Officer Johnson. When he, two separate occasions when he's gone to Organic Endeavors, it hasn't been open. The gate's been locked, and that's a big inconvenience because once you've loaded all your yard waste up into your vehicle and you get there and you can't dump it off, you have to take it back home. So I promised him I would bring this up because it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, the gate is shut, but it's always unlocked. I made sure that the gate is unlocked. You just need to lift up the latch and it opens up. It swings open on its own.
Okay, well, yeah, no one
And-
told Mr. Patterson that
And
because
you,
he's
Mr.
called me twice now
Okay,
saying
Mr.
that
Patterson, I
it's
can give
locked.
Mr. Patterson from your ward.
Yeah,
I can give him a shout.
yeah.
Okay, I know what you mean.
Okay, maybe we need to fix it so residents know because this is not the only complaint I've got
Okay.
about that.
I'll take care of that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the information.
All right, thank you. Administration Personnel, Commissioner Napper.
Yes, Mr. President. The board has conducted an extensive manager search after careful consideration of all the information obtained, including lengthy and careful deliberations, weighing of all factors in reference. I move to appoint David Kratzer to the position of Township Manager, Secretary, and enter into an employment agreement with Mr. Kratzer with the appointment date of January 4th, 2016.
Second. Moved and seconded by everybody.
Someone can third it if they'd like.
And
Yeah,
fourth.
please show that as a second by all. I think that would be appropriate.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Second by all, makes sense.
Second by all. Any seconds in those minutes, okay? All right, it's been moved to second. Any comment? I would just like to say, the committee's done a great job. Commissioner Napper, who heads the committee, appointed a subcommittee headed by Commissioner Johnson, enlisted Commissioners Rovarchak and Schubert and Fleming. They did an outstanding job. We basically conducted a nationwide search. There was a lot of due diligence involved, and we ended up somebody with practically in our backyard, which is refreshing. But we did the search. We looked everywhere, and they did a lot of work, and there's a lot of credit going your way, and we appreciate it. And, I think we all can take a lot of comfort in knowing that we did that kind of search because we got the best, and in my humble opinion, subject to the next performance review. But anyway, the process that Commissioner Napper ignited was great, and I do express my appreciation to all of you that served.
Thank you, President. I did want to point out that the committee, we talked about extensive. The extensive means that we advertised in the Pittsburgh papers, the Philadelphia papers, the Allentown papers, the Harrisburg papers, the Lancaster papers. We had assistance to the Pennsylvania Municipal League, the Pennsylvania Association of Municipal Managers. I'm trying to think where else. Oh, even in Craigslist. So it was very, very extensive.
I did not see the ad.
For the
But we
record,
did a very, very broad net. And we received well over 30 applicants. And we did find the best. I mean, I think everybody here seconded the nomination because we're also pleased with the qualifications of our incoming manager.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. President, I would just like to say, while the committee did receive the resumes and, whittle them down, all 9 commissioners were really involved in this process, and it was a unanimous decision. So I think we all played a role in this, and we're very happy with the outcome.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Carson. Congratulations. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Napper?
No, sir.
That was a big one. Police, Commissioner Engel.
No report.
Fire and EMS, Commissioner Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick public safety report this evening. Santa Claus is coming to town very, very soon. He will be in Edgemont and the Progress areas on Saturday, December 19th, and then in the Uptown and Linglestown Road corridor on Sunday, December 20th. Those routes and times, they stop at different corners of the neighborhoods, are on the township website, so please find more information there. And just anecdotally, we've had a wonderful time, my children and I always going out. So thank you so much for the fire service, to the fire service for making that available and doing that. And on that note, I just want to pass along a couple notes about Christmas tree fire safety during this time. Keep water in your tree, stand at all times. Use non-flammable decorations. Battery-powered lights are recommended, but if you do use electrical lights, please make sure that no wires are frayed or any bulbs are broken. Never leave your lights on unattended. Be sure to place your tree away from heat sources. And finally, if your tree does become too dry, discard it immediately. The kids won't like that, but you could prevent a lot of harm from being done. So more information on that can be found at the U.S. Fire Administration website at usfa.fema.gov. And finally, I'd like to echo something that Commissioner Sanderson said, and on behalf of Fire Marshal Dries and the fire service here in Susquehanna Township, I too want to thank Manager Myers for his many years of dedicated service to the township, and specifically in the realm of his support for public safety and our fire service. We are losing a very talented individual, and he doesn't like to hear this. But we certainly do appreciate his service. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Recreation, Commissioner Rovarchak.
No report, thank you.
Okay. I would just like to note that I went to the Greenbelt Association's annual dinner last night. Manager Myers went as well, and it was a real honor for us to be there and to be able to congratulate a couple of folks that have really helped the Greenbelt in Susquehanna Township. One is Mike Krapansky, who is the grant master and cranks out grants, and he's also very dedicated to the Greenbelt and has been for most of its 25 years of operation. Yesterday was the 25th anniversary of this year is the 25th anniversary of the Greenbelt Association. And the other is Diane Krippus, who lives in the 7th Ward, and she's done a number of things for the association over the years. The most recent and the one that's ongoing now is the addition of the spur between the switchback at the Susquehanna end of the Greenbelt behind the highway garage over to Andrea Avenue, which connects directly into Progress Avenue, which is really, I mean, we've got the grant about 3 years ago, and it involved a lot of engineers without borders. You know, a lot of folks were donating time, and all the workers, the folks who were actually taking wheelbarrows full of 2B stone and putting it down, and it's there's a lot of work being done. I walked it this afternoon, and it's really impressive, and it's going to be a major addition, opening up a whole new vista for those folks on that side of Progress Avenue to easily get into the Greenbelt without using a motor vehicle. So, yeah, it was refreshing to see so many volunteers in one room, all dedicated to one purpose. And Susquehanna is only one of, I guess, 3 or 4 municipalities involved in the Greenbelt.
Susquehanna, Swatara, City of Harrisburg.
Right, and Paxton. But it was refreshing to see so many people dedicated to the active and passive recreation needs of central Pennsylvania. So, that being said, let's move on to planning and zoning. Commissioner Schubert.
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. One just note I wanted to make regarding planning and zoning was that the ongoing work on the 58 acres up at Progress and Linglestown Road with the Vartan Group. They had a public hearing here this past Saturday in which they laid out all the drawings and different presentations they were able to make to people. Citizens came by, asked questions, and they were informed about what was going on with this important project. One of the things that we keep emphasizing is that this is being undertaken under a form-based zoning, which has never been done before in Susquehanna Township. So form-based zoning means that as the process moves along, the building, the size of the buildings, the location of buildings will all be approved prior as part of the approval of the whole project. This is something that's different and more progressive than something we've seen before. And just wanted to let the board know and the public that this outreach took place last Saturday, and we had a number of citizens came by, and I think it was pretty well received.
Very good. Thank you. Bids and agreements. We have the 2016-2019 Susquehanna Township Police Bargaining Agreement proposed for ratification. You all received this. I'd like to thank obviously the members of the bargaining committee, also Manager Myers, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Fleming, and Commissioner Napper for their work on this. It was a tough, and Chief Martin, obviously, yeah. It was a tough, not really that tough, but it was long drawn out. There were a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues that were discussed in a very healthy, productive way. I think that, at the end of the day, we came to an agreement that I personally think is in the best interest of both Susquehanna Township and our taxpayers, but also the bargaining unit. So it was fairly reached, and it's before us, and I would entertain a motion on its adoption.
Move to adopt the contract.
Second. Second. Any comment?
Really quickly, this was my first experience with something like this, but I just want to echo your comments, Mr. President. I mean, it was a very longer process than previously, but I think both parties went into the negotiating sessions with mutual respect. Certainly, on the police side, they respect that we have to hold the line on when it comes to our budget, on taxes and things like that. But and I'll speak for myself and my respect for them and what they do for us every day was also a key consideration. I mean, I think it was important that both sides never lost sight of that. And while we had to work to get this agreement, it was, the environment in that room was always cordial and polite, so and just respectful. So I really enjoyed being a part of this process, and thanks, Chief, for setting that tone, and Commissioner Napper for being head of personnel and getting us in that vein as well.
Well, we'll be glad to have you again in 4 years, sir. To work on that bargaining.
Well, the reason it took so long was because Commissioner Fleming was there.
Well,
Just kidding.
I knew that was coming, by the way.
All right.
But, Mr. President, I think that those of us who weren't there certainly do appreciate the work of the committee. It's the police contract is so important to the health and safety of our township, and we're glad to see that it is resolved amicably by all, and that we'll move forward with a 4-year agreement.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And this contract continues to ensure that we'll have an excellent police force currently and going forward. So.
Excellent. Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Public Safety Director Martin, for your leadership role in that. Appreciate it very much. Okay, ordinance, resolution, subdivisions, and land development plans. Resolution 15R13, and this is a resolution authorizing the submission of a sewer module for BAM Sturbridge Drive, Lot 137, and this is for DeVita Dialysis, an incoming business in the 9th Ward. Mr. Grubik or Mr. Myers, do you have any comment?
No comment. This was a pre-existing lot that was for which a land development plan had previously been approved by the township, and this is just the sewer module that is requesting sewer service for that particular lot.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve
Yeah.
resolution 15R-13.
Second.
Second, there we go. Go ahead.
Second. Any comment?
No comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Mr.
Yeah,
Rohr.
I did add a second resolution 15R14, reaffirming the township renewal of the county emergency operations plan. On the agenda that's in front of you.
15? Yep, okay.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to describe it, please?
Every 2 years, the county adopts an emergency operation plan. It becomes incumbent upon the municipalities to adopt that plan and renew it every 2 years. There were no changes in it. I discussed it with Commissioner Fleming the other day at the direction of President Lynch, and it's 2 months late. I had it put on the agenda 2 months ago, and I failed to do so. But it's the same operations plan that was approved 2 years ago and 2 years before that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mike Rohr.
Good evening. The Third Ward, Joseph and Linda Taylor Track, a final subdivision plan for the purpose of subdividing a 1.96 acre area adjacent and south of Paxton Church Road and added to the Susquehanna Township Authority Tract. The properties are located in the R1 and R2 residential district on Paxton Church Road between Walker Mill and Shutt Mill Road. The plan was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission contingent on one waiver, and that is to waive the preliminary plan requirement.
What's
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to we waive the preliminary plan requirement for the Linda and Joseph Taylor track.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then I'd like to make a motion to give final approval to the final subdivision plan for the Linda and Joseph Taylor track.
Second.
Second. Any comment?
I just have a quick question, Mr. Rohr. Is this for the purpose of building, subsequent building, this subdivision, or do they just want to split these properties?
This is actually, back in the spring, I approached the Board of Commissioners. This is going to square off the Logan Tract.
Okay.
It's actually the stream bed and the little bit of land on either side. So now the Logan Tract will go all the way to Paxton Church Road.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comment, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The second plan is in the first ward. It's the Dauphin County Land Bank Authority. It's a final subdivision land development plan for the purpose of combining 4 existing parcels and re-subdividing the property into 5 lots. The 5 lots will then be developed into a 5-unit townhouse complex. It is located on Tuscarora Street in the Commercial Office Limited District. Plan recommended by the Planning Commission, also with one waiver to waive the preliminary plan requirement.
Mr. President, I move to waive the preliminary plan requirement.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Go ahead.
I move to approve the plan.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any comment? I would just like to say that the Land Bank Authority did meet this week, and pending the action we're about to take, we'll order the 5 homes that will be placed on that tract. So we're moving at pace, and hope the weather holds out for a little bit and get this done as quickly as possible.
Yes,
Forward.
all right. I think I want to commend the Dauphin County Commissioners and the Land Bank Authority for, taking this action. I think we're very pleased in that Susquehanna Township was, again, the first place that they did such a project of this nature. And they took one of the most blighted properties in Dauphin County and are going to turn into a nice place where, people will actually be able to live there again and be a productive part of this township. So thank you, President, and thank you, County Commissioners, and go from there.
If I could just indicate to the board, Susquehanna Township's been a great partner with the Land Bank on this project, and they supported it. And in fact, I heard earlier this week from Gary Lenker, who was here earlier, he's the chairman of the Dauphin County Planning Commission, that when they reviewed this plan, motivated by the support that Susquehanna Township has given, they waived the county planning fee requirement, which is unusual for them. So, another contribution by, sort of indirectly by Susquehanna Township.
It will certainly be a terrific before and after pictures. I know there were some pictures
absolutely.
taken when the demolition, before it started, and when we take the after pictures of these completed homes, it'll certainly be a beautiful, testimony of what the Land Bank was able to accomplish.
Actually, the before pictures and the current pictures are quite a contrast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's already 100% better.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would just like to echo the remarks of appreciation to the county and everyone involved in the land bank. And I want to know when they're coming back to do another project. We welcome them.
We keep pushing.
Thank you.
Actually, it's the result of, they like Susquehanna because we were one of the first to actually get the 3 entities. You need the county, obviously. We also need the municipal government, which we secured an MOU, memorandum of understanding, to join with the county. But the big one's the school district.
board.
And they enthusiastically, as you know, jumped on board. The Land Bank is having difficulty getting those other 2 entities in various municipalities throughout the county to sign on to the MOU. And it's a shame because it's such a win-win scenario. But that accrues to the benefit of Susquehanna Township because these funds do become available, projects are identified, you push them forward, and if there's a vacuum, it gets filled. So, it's been a lot of determination, but also, and I hope a lot of other municipalities do come on board because there's lots of blight throughout this area, throughout the county, that, the Land Bank was set up to address. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Solicitor, but Dauphin County was, I believe, the 2nd county in the state to do it behind the city of Philadelphia.
No, it was the first.
So, all right, so we were the first, and we were the first to project. So Susquehanna Township was the first municipality in the state to undertake a land bank project. Something to self-congratulate each other about.
And this was at a time when the county folks made their presentation on this. This was at a time when the school board here did not agree on much. And I was at that board meeting, and it was 9-0. It was unanimous.
I was there too, and I don't think they approved the minutes that night.
They approved this. I think the agenda took about an hour and a half. So it's a slam dunk, and you know what? We'll keep it coming. Hopefully.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You'll communicate that to the land bank, Mr. Foreman?
I will.
Thank you. Unfinished business. Do we have any?
Published report.
Okay. Reports. Mr. Manager, do you have any?
We have one traffic study, Chief Martin.
Before I address the traffic study, Mr. President and Commissioners, the three members of the bargaining committee wanted to have me articulate to you that one's on vacation, two of them are actually working right now, and they're on a burglary report, so they wanted to be here tonight, but we're unable to make it, so I just wanted to mention that. The traffic study before you is for Countryside Drive. As you know, there's been some development there over the past years, so we're recommending 2 stop signs. One at the northern intersection of Countryside facing east, and the second at the southern intersection facing west. That's all I have.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? So this is to advertise?
Advertise.
To draft the ordinance and advertise. It'll be on your agenda for
January.
So I make a motion that we draft an ordinance and advertise for the stop signs to be placed
Yes.
at Countryside and Latcha.
Yes, and they'll be posted for 30 days until the.
Commissioner Schubert
And we
seconds.
second it.
Yep.
Okay.
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. President,
Yes,
may I have a moment?
sure.
This is his manager's report, so I'm going to take my last opportunity to speak. 21 years ago, I walked into Susquehanna Township, and I had no idea what I was walking into. And I'm very glad I had the opportunity to serve the boards of commissioners, the 38 commissioners that I have had the honor to serve, and the board presidents. The tens of thousands of citizens it's been my honor to work for. I can't express how kind they've been to me over the years and how much support I have gotten from those citizens, because I'm talking about citizens volunteers, because the citizens volunteers of this municipality save several millions of dollars a year. And I look at the gentlemen in the back row in their dress firefighter uniforms. They work for free, and they do a tremendous job and save us millions and millions and millions of dollars. The men and women sitting along that back row have added to the team concept of this township, because this is definitely a team. This is definitely a we. It's not an I. I have done nothing. We've only accomplished things together. The people that aren't sitting on that back row who went before us, the Charlie Copes and the Rossi Weatherfords, the Carol Dunkelbergers, the Al Wrightstones, the wonderful woman who sits on that back row, Johnny Urban, who every day displays nothing but loyalty and hard work and effort to me. The fact I've been able to develop friendships that I've never been able to have without the opportunity afforded me in this township. The gentleman to my right and the gentleman to my left, and the ultimate professional support that they give this township. And of course, they get paid. But it's well deserved. And I think of many things I could say, but it all goes back to the 2 words that my parents taught me so many years ago: thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to my family for allowing me to spend the many, many, many hours away, many, many nights away, the snowstorms that I spend away from my family, and I enjoy being out in the snow. But most of all, thank you for the friendship. Thank you for the opportunity. And I always reflect upon books and movies, and Chief and I always do movies together. And I just have to think about one movie that came out in 1987, starring Gene Hackman. And the last line in that movie Hoosiers, I love you guys. And I truly mean that. Even at times that we've had differences of opinions, I love you guys. The opportunities, they're there. I'll be there. I'll be here for 5 more months. And I only wish one thing upon Dave Kratzer. that you do better than me, and I mean that. I've done a good job, but I want you to do better. I mean that, Dave, and that's all I can ask of you. And you will have 110% of my effort for the next 5 months, and for every day I live in this township afterwards. The board made a great choice, not a good choice. You made a great choice, and I thank you for what you've done. Everybody in this room has done more for me than I can ever do for you, and I just care for you all so very much, and thank you. And Chief, it's yours. What it says is, for the love of the game. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman.
And thank you to my favorite reporter. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure we'll formalize this in the coming months when we start gathering our thoughts. But tonight's budget, which we've adopted, and tonight's agenda actually personify Mr. Myers. And he had some very kind words for us, which I think need to be repaid. The building and grounds that we occupy right now are directly attributable to Mr. Myers. He oversaw innumerable bond issuances and refinancings to expand and accommodate a growing township, police services, fire services. We have the finest professional services, administrative and emergency in Dauphin County. The Budget Finance Committee, over many, many years, was directly responsible for rebuilding the township's depleted finances in a time of crisis. Mr. Myers brought the township back from the brink of insolvency to a very, very healthy budget. The expansion of the township and its growth for the last 20-plus years, he was directly responsible for overseeing the design and the development of new neighborhoods that added miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of road and infrastructure without an expansion of staff. He's good at managing people and equipment. And in other places, that would just be an automatic, oh, we have to spend more money. Under Mr. Myers, we have the same number of township highway staff as we've had in the last 20 years. And it's a credit to the township highway staff themselves that they've been able to keep up. But it's because of Mr. Myers' leadership and dedication that it was possible. Under the police department, we give direct credit to Chief Martin for the incredible administration of a growing, professional, and accredited agency. But I recall on many occasions that Chief Martin always refers to Mr. Myers as boss, and I think that says a lot. For administration and personnel, Mr. Myers has gone through many, many years of developing friendships and professional relationships that have served the township well. In my opinion, if the township is in the news, it might not be for the right reason. But Susquehanna Township has not been in the news for all the right reasons. It's because of his administrative leadership that the township has worked so effectively without a lot of fanfare. Recreation, every single field in Susquehanna Township, the fields that are accredited nationally, are the direct result of Mr. Myers' accomplishment. When he first started, there was no budget for public recreation. And now we have national athletic tournaments coming to Susquehanna Township. Baseball, soccer. The list goes on. And thousands and thousands and thousands of young kids coming up through midget football and other activities. It's amazing. We now have demand for cricket leagues. Fire and emergency services, Mr. Myers gave, in due course, as is his warranted behavior, he gives the credit to emergency services. Mr. Myers understands the value of properly trained personnel and making sure that they have the resources and the funds available to them. So we have the finest professional volunteers, but we have the finest professional leader who understands what that does for us in our quality of life. As far as planning and zoning going, Mr. Myers has personally overseen numerous comprehensive plans. And that's not easy because everyone likes to live in their neighborhood. Mr. Myers makes sure that everyone's neighborhood was good and was growing. We just ratified a bid and agreement with the bargaining unit for the police department for another 4 years. That's extraordinary. When was the last time you were able to hear that such an accommodating agreement was achieved? Susquehanna Township. And the Dauphin County Land Bank Authority. The first county, the first municipality in the state was to adopt a land bank was done under Mr. Myers' leadership. And just, it's not directly related to the township, but it's immediately impacting the township. Mr. Myers was involved in a very lengthy and complicated program with the Sewer Authority to acquire more than 50 acres of privately owned land, the Logan Tract. And we just adopted tonight a little bit more land to completely flesh it out. It's one of the largest open spaces left in Susquehanna Township, and it's reserved and preserved for public access. It's extraordinary. I want to say thank you. And I think you deserve all the credit and accommodations that we can give you. Thank you again.
Well, Mr. Myers, this is your, it's true that this is your last meeting over there in that penalty box. Dave's going to be there next month in the penalty box. But you're still going to be with us for a little while. And it's kind of, we're going to have plenty of time to celebrate your accomplishments. But on a personal level, you know, I've only been here, well, longest on the boards right now. Talk about Groundhog Day. I've been on the board for a baker's dozen years, so that's 13, Sean.
I'm short, but I can count.
In any event, just ticking off some of the things that I thought of. Solid fiscal stewardship, excellent staff recruitment and nurturing, non-tax revenue that we've been able to accomplish over the years. Another first in the state was the LST tax expansion. The tightening of the collection process, working with Congressman Holden. The LST was, under federal rules, you couldn't have the U.S. Postal Service collect the taxes other employers in Pennsylvania have to do. And the post office refused to do it. Mr. Myers and I persuaded a very helpful Congressman Holden, who talked some sense in the Postal Service. So now instead of sending individual tax receipts out to 1,400 employees, we get one remission on a regular basis, which you're welcome, Connie. Just a couple other things, because there's too many to mention. But the upgrades of Veterans Park that Commissioner Sanderson mentioned, the Logan Tract, which was really a unique partnership that is going to serve our passive recreation needs for years to come, and also solve a big problem for the Sewer Authority. It's just that kind of partnership that I got into government service for. And, the Greenbelt, Mr. Myers' 21 years almost perfectly corresponds with the existence of the Greenbelt Association, Capital Area Greenbelt. And so much was done, despite certain members of previous boards of commissioners to the contrary, to make sure that Susquehanna Township was part of that that emerald necklace around the city of Harrisburg. And I was proud to be part of that last night and think about some of the things that we've done to help residents. And Gary's been a true part of that. And he mentioned how many, 36 commissioners?
38.
38. In the time that I've been working with you, there's been 24. And only 4 presidents of the board. But you've treated all of them with the respect that they deserved. Maybe even respect that they didn't deserve. But you treated everybody well. You supported them. Everybody looked better because of your service and your professionalism. I would note that we know the time is coming to an end because all that crappy Yankee gear is disappearing from that back office. And Dave, my only request is that you supplant it with a Phillies gear that you and I and Mr. Pine are so fond of. So thank you for your service, Gary. Much appreciated. It is crap.
Couldn't agree more.
Is that the end of your report, Mr. Myers?
That's it, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, police, Chief, did you have anything else?
I didn't. No, sir.
Okay. Solicitor.
Board, prior to the meeting today, the board held a public hearing on an amendment to section 272302, which is your zoning ordinance with regard to parking requirements. And this hearing had to do with shopping centers. So if the board wants to proceed with that, you have to direct that it be advertised. You don't have a responsibility to proceed with it. There is no time limit or any requirement that you proceed. So does the board wish to proceed with the the amendment to 272302?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that no further action be taken on that parking.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If I could, just for a moment, I'm not an elected official, so I won't take a long time to say this, but
Commissioner Sanderson thanks you.
And that's from an attorney. Gee!
We can move you into justice seat.
How dare you, Mr. Myers? I will withhold my comments, sir.
I'm not going to say that we're going to miss a great township manager, because we're still going to have a great township manager. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to lose a friend, because we're going to remain friends. So I'm just going to say congratulations and good retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Thank you. All right, Fire Marshal, do you have anything back there?
He didn't talk long, did he?
Thanks for yielding your time. Mr. President, commissioners, boss, they've said everything. I'm just going to try to say a couple things. One thing, 2 things actually. It's written on our some of our police cars, all of our police cars, integrity. It's not just a word on a vehicle. It's something that is not just how you act when you're around a certain group of people. It's how you conduct your life day in, day out. This man's full of integrity. He's done all sorts of things for people that nobody knows about. You throw all his friends, his business, and personal relationships together, and they still don't know everything that he's done, publicly, privately, whatever. We have a lot of laws. We have a lot of codes. We have a lot of ordinances that everybody here deals with, and I think the biggest law is to not get in trouble with the people that deal with laws.
Which is all of us.
The second most important law that's been out there came from the 10 Commandments. It says, love thy neighbor as thyself. He's done that. And you're still alive.
Thanks, Mr. Dries.
Mr. President, I would ask our engineer if he would give a report. We skipped over the engineer. He was going to give a report on what, if anything, is happening with the Uptown Stormwater Project, which was supposed to be out to bid by the end of the year?
I'd be very happy to,
Thank you.
Commissioner. As the board is aware, the project in the Uptown area, the drainage project in the Uptown area has been in existence for several years now. And it started out as what seemed to be a simple stormwater management project. And as it evolved, it was determined that there was some sanitary sewer work that should have been efficiently done as part of the township stormwater project. With that said, the township approached the sewer authority and has been working very closely with the sewer authority in terms of coming to an agreement as to the extent of the replacement of the portions of the sanitary sewer system as part of the stormwater project. And the authority board and their engineer have been putting a lot of work into it. We've had very good communication with them. There's been a lot of work that has been looked into. The authority's been doing a lot of financial analysis, determining the benefit costs of the particular infrastructure improvements. And yes, the schedule has slipped. There's no question about that. But I can tell you that as far as the stormwater portion of the project is concerned, our plans will be ready by mid-January. We will then submit them to the authority and their engineer for review. Hopefully there will be a quick turnaround of that review, and the project would then be ready for bidding, for construction bids, somewhere around the March of 2016, March to April 2016. So that's where we are right now. It has been a long, drawn-out process. There's no question about that. But because it's been a long, drawn-out process, and because of the cooperation and thorough analysis of both the township and the authority, it's going to be a win-win situation for both entities, and a win-win situation for the township as a whole and the residents of the Uptown area.
Okay, thank you. And I understand that you have made this project a priority.
This project is a #1 priority in our office, and we've talked with the authority engineer and requested that the same prioritization be made in their office as well.
And what I hear you saying is, Key, you need a quick turnaround time.
Yes, we
once
do.
you submit to the authority engineer.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thanks for the report.
You're welcome. And I would also like to make a few comments, if I will, Mr. President, regarding working with Manager Myers for many years, since 1995. He has not only been a terrific municipal manager, he's been a great friend. He and I have developed a wonderful relationship, both personally and professionally, and I can say it has been an absolute distinct pleasure working with Manager Myers and not only getting things done, but the methodology in which things were done has been outstanding. And I would like to personally thank him for all of his great work and support and integrity, as Mr. Dries indicated, but also being able to bring this township to the quality that it is now in serving the 25,000 residents that we all serve. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Grubik. School Board, anything?
No report. No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Authority, Commissioner Sanderson.
No report, thank you.
Wheels, Commissioner Schubert.
No report.
Shade Tree, Commissioner Barczyk.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to offer thanks and appreciation for one of our Shade Tree members, James Morehouse. He is going to be retiring from Shade Tree. His term is up, and he's not going to be returning, so we will have an opening on the Shade Tree Commission. For anyone who's interested and loves trees, please contact the township if you're interested in applying. For informational purposes, the Shade Tree Commission meets on the third Thursday of each month at 4 p.m., so it can be a challenge if you work to attend the meetings, but if it's something you're interested in, please do contact us.
Thank you. Communications, Commissioner Schubert.
Just one comment, Mr. President. You had mentioned about the good work of the Greenbelt Association, and I just wanted to point out that it's going to be our intention for the next issue of Living in Susquehanna to do a feature story on the Greenbelt and show a map and do some discussions about the good work of the Greenbelt and how it does impact the residents of Susquehanna Townships. That's a very worthwhile, it's a, organization that we want to highlight.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Commissioner.
That's it. That concludes my report.
Okay. And all quiet on the human relations front?
Yes, no report. Thank you.
All right, new business. We have some vacancies to fill. As I explained to commissioners, we don't need to be in a rush to fill all of them. There are two priorities that we have. One is zoning hearing board, and the other is the authority. And so I know there's some interest in some candidates that have expressed an interest in each of those positions. So I would entertain nominations
Mr.
at this
President,
point.
for the zoning hearing board alternate, which is currently vacant, it'd be my pleasure to nominate Mr. Tom Ward Jr. to serve on that, in that capacity.
Have a second?
Second.
Second, any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President.
And you'll get a letter out, Mr. Myers, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Regarding the authority, I nominate Commissioner Napper and current member Tony Salamone to their seats.
Second.
Second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Similar, you can probably hand deliver Mr. Napper's letter.
Yes.
Steve has been reappointed.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, and we'll get to the others next, at our next meeting, our first meeting, our only meeting in first meeting in January. 2016 meeting schedule, authorization to advertise.
I make a motion that we advertise, the 2016 meeting schedules.
Second. Second, any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner comments?
Mr. President, as we are currently in the Hanukkah season, I wanted to take this opportunity to wish a happy Hanukkah to all my friends who celebrate the blessed holiday. And being that we will not be back before Christmas, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well. Thank you.
Second on both.
All in favor?
I have a quick comment, Mr. President. I just want to acknowledge, amend my public safety comments. I want to acknowledge the presence of Chief Rod Calhoun, who is the chief of Rescue Fire Company, and Chief Calvin Siegel, who is the chief of Edgemont Fire Company. Thank you for being here this evening, and I wanted to acknowledge that you guys are there and tell you that you do an exceptional job, and thank you so much for the work that you do and all of those volunteers under you do to keep us safe each and every day and to respond to incidents as they come. So thank you so much for your work.
And I wanted to second that as well.
All right. All right.
Mr.
President. Yes.
Just,
Mr. Lyons first.
I'm sorry. Mr. President, I mean, for the last couple of decades, a lot of new commissioners have come into the Susquehanna into service at Susquehanna Township, and Gary tells us tonight it's been 38 of them. 4 years ago, I was one of them, and we have all been treated with the utmost respect and have given the greatest of help and support as commissioners. And for the employees of our township and for the 24,000 residents of the township, Mr. Gary Myers has given the same respect and help. I'm privileged to count him as a constituent, but I'm honored to count him as a friend. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner.
I make a motion to approve the report of bills paid, amount of $2,414,257.26.
Second.
In a second, any comment? Light month, huh?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Merry
Aye.
Christmas.
Aye.